really powerful with Vue. So I can click this and we can see it goes to loading. Boom. Ya-da-da-da. 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 Guys, what's going on? It's Program with Tags here, and this is a tutorial on Vue 3. Vue 3 is an amazing front-end framework. It's something that I've had a depth of experience in. When I worked for a capillary collection startup, this was the front-end framework largely integrated in their system. So I'm going to show you guys the few tricks and just a quick tutorial. I still don't even know what we're going to build yet. Maybe it'll be just quick, let me think, buttons, list, to-do list. We could do pagination, but we could build something. That's not the problem. The thing I want to show you guys is the cool things that Vue can do as a front-end framework versus some things that are different in React. So obviously React is my bread and butter. I love it more than anything, but let's pop this in. I'll say Vue 3 tutorial, and I'm just gonna build this folder, pop it into VS Code, and we're gonna get started. So step one, I do want to, guys, I love that intro, but we're just flying in. I went to turn on the lights, running, I'm out of breath, you know, help me out a little, be a little patient with me. But okay, so I popped open my terminal. How I did that, I pressed Control and backtick, or you could do terminal. You saw I just dragged and dropped into the VS Code project, the Vue 3 tutorial folder. And I want to make sure that I have Vue 3 command line installed. So this is the command for it. Let me zoom in for you guys. Oops, deleted the command, did not mean to do that. But we want to do npm install -g for global at Vue 3 CLI. So let's just make sure that Vue 3 is installed into our machine. And for your machine, you might need to do some configuration for these things, but that is going to be step numero uno. So guys, again, Vue 3, it's different. There's two-way data emissions versus React is like a one-way data pipeline. It's like a tree structure when you can go top to bottom, typically is how React's built. Most projects are built that way or encouraged to be built that way. Vue 3, it's a little different. You can kind of go left to right. You can do emissions and props. We'll play around with a few things, and you have your mustache templating syntax that you can use on the DOM versus in React. You can't do that. React, it breaks the code. So there's a few things that Vue, I do wish React had, but there's a ton of things in React that I'm like, I wish Vue had also. So next thing I want to do is npm create Vue at latest. So this is step 2. This is now going to create our front-end framework. I can say / to do it in this folder that we built, but I won't do that this time. I'll just say npm create Vue at latest. And it's going to give us all of our configuration options, or it'll ask you, do you have the updated version of the npm CLI? So say yes for that if it asks for that. Vue 3 project, we'll just name it Vue project for the name. Add TypeScript, absolutely. We would love to add TypeScript. JSX support, no, that's okay. And we do want to have Vue router for single page application development. I'll have a Nuxt server-side rendered framework for Vue. I'll have that down the road, not right now, because the routing is different in Nuxt as well. So, but let's look at add Pinya for state management. This is their state management. So there's like Recoil for React. There's Zustand. There's Redux, which is infamous in the React environment. They use Pinya, and I'm gonna show you guys how powerful Pinya is. Hopefully in today's tutorial, if not, I'll have another one, but it's powerful. Like the way it's set up, their setup stores are just pretty awesome. We won't use vtest for unit testing, and we're not going to use Cypress for testing either, or integrate any testing actually. So add ESLint for code quality, sure, why not? Prettier for formatting, absolutely. And now that we have all of our configurations, and you might have changed a few, not a big deal at all. It's going to pop out this kind of command of what we need to do. It says, hey, you need to CD into your project. You need to make sure you install everything, and then run format just to format all the code, and then run dev. And let's go ahead and pop it in. So I just copy and paste all of that. Boom, and now it's loading. And you can see on the left, we have this Vue Vue 3 project or Vue project folder with all of our substructures in it. And let's see, it's running our server, our local host on 5173. So I'm going to pop this open and boom, it says, congratulations, you did it. I lied. There is no congratulations. It just says you did it. So this is it. We're looking at Vue's DOM right here, and this is their welcome screen, at least as of today. And it's an amazing community as well. There's a lot of growth there. There's a huge ecosystem, a lot of third-party integrations and tools. It too has its own benefits, and I could tell you firsthand. There's things we're going to cover today that I miss about Vue that I don't have in Team Syncer, but I'm not going to talk bad about my project Team Syncer. It's amazing. It's fantastic. Built in Next.js. It's beautiful. But Vue is amazing too. So let's cover a little bit about it. We have our SRC folder. You can see we have our assets here. Those are going to be like your images, maybe your JSON stuff, your components folder. You have your router to deal with routing and stores. They give us a store out of the box in Pena, so maybe we'll look at that. And you guys will recognize that this is eerily similar. Let me actually zoom in and just kind of reorientate the screens a little bit. You're going to see that Vue.3's composition API is actually looking kind of similar to React. And we have our computed values. You have your refs, which are basically your state, your use state. Obviously in Reactive, you use ref as well. Your computed value is going to be like a use memo. It's basically to render data without having callbacks. If you need to calculate data, that data is as good as gold on the screen. But you could see that the structure is not horribly hard to recognize if you've used other JavaScript frameworks. But if you're new to Vue as a whole and new to JavaScript frameworks as a whole, this is where we're naming the store, obviously defining what it is, defining pieces of state, all that stuff. But let me pop open the file base here. Let's get out of the stores. We have our views. These are going to be our pages and things like that. They call them views. So we have our home page, basically our about page. And then we have our app.vue. So let's break this open. Let's look at the app.vue. I'm going to close out of the counter. It's fine. And we kind of three things. We have our script tag, we have our template tag, and then we have our style tag. And what I'm referring to is this. We have our script tag. This is like all of our logic, all of our JavaScript, if you will. It goes in this script tag. Then we have our template, right, which has all of our HTML, right? And you could put it all here. And then we also have our styles. And that's all of our CSS or design, and that goes in our style tag. So it's really segmented a little different than other JavaScript frameworks, but you kind of have this nice structure where it's like here's my logic, here's my HTML, and here's my styling. Like here's our three pieces, and now you know where to look if you're messing with any of these three pieces. So let's dive in. Let's kind of delete some of this, and I'm going to delete all the header stuff and the router view, and I'm going to delete everything out of the script tag. So we're just left with an empty template and an empty script tag, and I'm also going to delete everything out of the style view, so we can see kind of an empty, just rough Vue project. This is what you're looking at is your script template style. So first thing, I'm going to open up this script tag and I'm going to say import ref. And let's see if I can remember how to do all this stuff, right? So import ref from Vue. I think that's all we need to do is like that. And I'm going to open up the template tag, I'll say const count equals ref 0. And this count is similar to, in React, when you declare a variable, you say use state, we now have a count here that we can show on the screen. So in template here, I'm going to open up template, pop in a div here, say div \div, and I'll say hello world, boom. here we go. And it should pop up on the screen. Keyword should. Where are we at? Where are we at? Why? Let me see, guys, dealing with a little. There it is. Okay. So I didn't have my import tag correct. I think I need to destructure it. There it is. Okay. So that was just small syntax, guys. It's been a moment. It's been a moment since I've been in Vue, but we're gonna get into it. We're gonna dive in, and at least you know this is a very, very transparent video. So we have our div tag, and we can define a class within the div. So I can say class equals, we'll say new class, right? And I can go to my style tag, right? And I can now build new class, this style right here. I don't need to go to a style sheet. I still can if I need to or want to, but right here in my Vue project, I can define the color. If I want to say, no, I want this text to be red. If I want the background color to be different, maybe I want it to be white, right? Maybe if I want padding, I can define it all right here in the same file, and it's kind of quick. It's kind of fast. Now this looks ugly, so I'm gonna not do all of this stuff. We're going to just do a kind of basic generic wrapper where I can center and stack everything. So I'll say width full, basically width 100%, and I'll say display flex. And then I'll say flex direction column. So I want everything stacked in the middle. And then I want to say justify content center and align items, center. And that should get everything centered. And then now for each new div we build, if I go ahead and go back to our template and copy this down, they should just stack on top of each other, centered in the screen. We know how it all works. So so that's going to be kind of my wrapper class, and I'll say content wrapper here is what that'll be. I'll just rename that file, guys, and that's the start of it. That's the start of it. So let me think of something real quick of what we can build. I do want to show a few things on Vue though that React doesn't have. So I'm thinking of just maybe a button with a list that we can paginate through data, or something where it's data handling, but done in a way where I can show off Vue's core elements. So I showed you guys the ref thing where we can take this count. Actually, I don't think I did. Forgive me. So I'm going to delete this hello world out. I copied the count. Let me open up this div, and I'm going to open up a new div and say count. It's going to be right here. And then below this, I'll copy it down. And this is where I'm going to paste the count. But I need to wrap it in 2 curly brackets. This is what they call mustache syntax. And then we have our count. I can show that variable, this variable, in my template like this. And now if we change the count, if I say 1, 2, we could see it updating over here on the right. So it's kind of lightweight and simple. It's weird. Like it's such a different way of viewing JavaScript than React. So I want to show a few other things. So I'll say function will say count up, right, or handle count, and I'm just going to build this function, right? I'm going to say function handle count with 2 curly brackets. And what I believe if I remember correctly, I could say count.value. So in React, we would just say count plus equals 1. But in Vue, I need to say count.value plus equals 1. And if I handle count, right, maybe on load, it should change this from 2 to 3. So this is another point about Vue, right? So it'll only count once if I have handle count once on the screen, twice, 4 times. You can see that the count is getting incremented each time I copy down the function. React is a little bit different in the context that in Vue, it just runs through the code block one time, meaning the JavaScript thread gets fired off and boom, it only gets updated once on load, on mounts, unless you deal with the lifecycle. But that's all. That's all other stuff. You don't need to focus too much on that stuff. It's just important to remember it's a little different reactivity wise on the DOM compared to other JavaScript frameworks. But Vue is it's very linear. It's very lightweight. So I want to show off one thing I'm super impressed by with Vue. So let's build something. I'm going to use ChatGPT to give me an idea on something to build, right? Like I need some sort of thing to build. Let's say an inventory management system, right? So let's build that. Not the whole thing, of course, but just a list of products for a company, right? So the list of products, right? We're going to need a few more things. I'm going to delete all of this stuff, this count. We're going to get it out of there. I'm going to delete this handle count stuff. So we're just kind of based with our traditional almost template from Vue. So what I want to define is a type, and I'll say the type is let's see what should I call the inventory, the product type product for the inventory, right? So I'll say equal sign and then open up the curlies, and this will be product ID. This will be a string, right? And I'll say product name, and this will be a string, and then I'll say product description. And again, we're building an inventory management system, so I'm just kind of ideating on what I would define the structure for some of this data as. So we have an initial type of product, and why are we getting? Interface product. What's going on here? Oh, it's never used. Okay, so I just have an ESLint rule. Got it. So I have my interface product of a description of a data schema for these inventory products. And now I want to build just some mock data on the front end. And this is going to be the very first thing to show off a super awesome thing that is out of the box ready with Vue. So I'm going to say const data, right? Or I'll say const inventory maybe. Inventory data equals this. And it's going to be an array of these products. So I'll say product ID 1, right? And then product name. Let's see, I need some inventory. Let's, what do I have around the house? I'll say candle. Product name, it's a candle. Product description, smells, I don't know, I need a candle description. Light smells, lights for 4 hours, something like that, right? Oh, we also need maybe a product price would probably be one more thing that we need. So product price, I'll pop that in there. And let's go right here. So product price, I'll maybe say $1. Cheap candle. Say $4.99. How about that? Okay, so I've got my first data for a candle, right? And I just want to show this one bit off, and maybe we'll build a second product really quick. So product ID, we'll change it to 2. Instead of a candle, we'll say pencil. I don't know, maybe it's some hardware store. I was gonna say $9.99 for a pencil. That's a pretty expensive pencil. And let me change the product description. The product description will be writes, I don't know, number 2 lead, right? And now we have data essentially, right? We have our data, we have our interface. I'm going to define the data clearly. So it's this product, and this interface or this inventory data has never been used. I'm going to disable this ESLint rule for the thing. I'm just kind of overseeing the orange underlines for a sec. But we've defined the inventory data to this interface, or this type, if you will. And I now have this inventory data that we can't see anywhere on the front end, but we have it here in our framework. what I can do is go to our template, and I could pop this open using the mustache syntax, and I could just copy or paste in the inventory data, and we can now see all that data right here without breaking anything. And this is what I love as a front-end engineer. This is something that I deeply, deeply, deeply love about. I mean, you can literally handle your data however you need to. You could build whatever you need, right? You could, if you need to slice data, right? If you need to access the first item of the data, right? You could see the data right here being updated live, and it's your data is so malleable from a front-end framework standpoint that you cannot do this in many other front-end frameworks. It breaks the code. Now you can do stuff like this in another front-end framework. You can pop in the data, but you have to define things like this. You have to build out your whole piece of data that you need. So if I want to access the first object and I just want to access the product ID, I have to predefine these things before using it on the DOM. And Vue is not like that. Vue is out of the box. You can throw whatever data you want on the DOM on the front end. And it's super, super, super helpful because if you need to build out, I'm gonna copy this into ChatGPT real quick and ask Chat. And guys, I'm gonna have all this code available on a GitHub repository. Check the description for this repo. But can you build out this product type and data to have many more relevant fields? Boom. Okay, so let's see what ChatGPT can do, but I wanted to add significantly more pieces of data. Let's see, and then I want to even nest pieces of data, and I'll show you how amazing Vue is, because let's see if we have like product. Let's see, it's building out just a ton of stuff. This is what it's updated the interface to. And the reason why I say this is because when I worked with Vue, this was such a powerful thing because we dealt with a ton of data, like product tags. This is a great example where there's an array within an array of products. So let's see what ChatGPT, perfect. It is building it out exactly as I need it. So when I worked with Vue on, let me get all this real quick. And guys, again, this is all going to be available in the description. So check for the repo to get all this data. Boom. So you can see we have so much more data now, right? Let me just zoom out to show you guys we have more data, and I'll zoom back in. But we have this array of data, right? With objects, with an array of data within the object. So we have nested arrays. And as I mentioned, when I worked with Vue at a company, we had even more things. We had even nested arrays with like Boolean values that would indicate if there's another nested array within that object. So Vue was really, really powerful for seeing this on the front end of, okay, well, if I need to access the product tags, I can just literally start lobbing off any data that, and if I need to access this bit, I'll just highlight it right here off the DOM, press dot, boom, and now I can look at the data that's coming back from like the API or whichever, and then if I need to map it, right, I can just build out all of my methodologies right here instead of it being this like really, really difficult thing that breaks the code all the time, because that is what in React you cannot do this. You cannot. You have to do it in the console in React, which is totally fine. It's not a huge difference, but this was one thing that I genuinely enjoyed about Vue very, very, very much, is I can build out all of my product schemas. And if you saw my Next.js TypeScript integration video, And I definitely want to have more videos just on API integrations, not necessarily related to the React ecosystem, but just front end to back end integrations. What I showed was building out this template data, this JSON structured data that you can then pop into your front end endpoints, right? Your front end API calls, and you could build out an entire system up until the database, like literally from a front to back, front end component to middleware to back end integration. You can build out everything that you need just based on JSON data. As long as your contracts match with the back end, you have no problems at all. So, guys, I'm going to build this out a little bit more though. Let's build out some of this inventory data, and let's see how it goes. Let's see how it goes. So, but I just wanted to show that I can show all of this data. Let's pretend it's an inventory call, right? So we can manufacture a dummy fetch, if you will. So I'll say function fetch data, and I'll say we need a ref for this. So I'll say const fetch data, guys. However you need your data, and I'll say inventory data, or excuse me, I'll say fetch data dot value equals inventory data, and all I'm doing is just doing a dummy fetch of fetching data from this inventory value. So let's say it's not available yet, right? So I'll put this fetch data right here. We haven't fetched it yet, and then after we fetch the data, let's just make sure this works. Boom, then it pops up. Okay, perfect. I'm going to delete that, guys. I just want to show real quick what we have. Bird's eye view. This fetch data is just to dummy your Axios request, dummy your fetch headers, dummy your integrations with your endpoints. So instead of you guys having this here, this would just be integrate your endpoints here. Integrate with your endpoints. Boom. So what I want to show is a bit of a loading. So I'll say const is loading, right? Or I could say const loading. And this loading will have a few states, one being idle. I actually don't even need to get this granular with it. We can do a few things. Well, we might as well. I'm already here, right? So I'll say idle. There's a loading state. There's a success state. There's a failed state, right? And then we'll have a disabled state for like when the data is fetched. We'll maybe like disable the button, right? And this won't be loading, excuse me. It'll be button state. And I'll start by making this type an idle. So you don't need to define all of these states. I'm just going to predefine them so we know that our button, when we're fetching the data, can only do these things. So we have data. The data is going to go right here, right? So I'm going to say, let me build out a div right here. Sorry guys, I know sometimes it's a bit left and right over the place, but I'm trying to show a few points and features of Vue while trying to build something on the fly. But it's all going to play out. So below this, I'm going to say this is my button for fetching, and let's build a button. And we're going to build out a component in a moment, but let's see. This is just going to be a fetch data button. So what I want to do in my fetch data button, I want to just click that button, and in Vue I just say @click, and I believe I could just say fetch data. So after I click this button, and I'm going to add a few class names to it real quick so we can just see it work. So this will be my button class, and boom, here's my button class. Copy that style down here and say what do we say? Background color. Getting no help on the IntelliSense, but I'll say background color. What is it? Black. We'll say color just normal color, right? We want the text to be white, and I want padding. We're going to make this a bit of a prettier button. We're going to say, let's see, 2 rem and 4 rem. So it'll, well, that's a little too much. We'll say 1 and 2 rem. That's perfectly fine. And I'm going to say border radius is going to be 16 pixels just to round it off. And I'll say outline, excuse me, say outline none and border none, just to get rid of that wrapper border. And guys, I actually don't want this to be this black color. I want it to be the Vue green color. So let's look up Vue's Vue green. Vue.js brand color hex. We'll just steal this one. Oh, I want this one. And I'll put a little hashtag in front of it. So boom, we have roughly the Vue's color. And then I'll say cursor dash pointer here. Excuse me, is it just cursor and pointer, I believe? So now when we hover over the button, we can see our cursor change. And all I want to do is just say button class. When I click it, I just want to, when it's specifically active with the pseudo class active, I just want the opacity to be 0. So I can just see me click the button. So boom, click the button, data gets fetched. And that's it, guys. That's the start of our data fetch that I want to show. And we're going to structure the data. And then I want to just put a little loading there for fetching the data. So right now it's doing a dummy fetch where we're showing the data, we're fetching. Maybe I'll put this button above the fetched data so I can fetch the data, and then boom, it shows up. So we're just kind of dummying a request to the back end and showing how it might look on the front end, right? So when we fetch data, we want to have a try catch block, right? Where we're fetching the data. Sorry guys, I got low battery. I realized on the phone. Let me plug in my phone. I thought it was plugged in. Forgive me one moment. Okay, so we have this try catch block. I've got my dummy Axios request, if you will, or my dummy set timeout request. I'll have a console error down here on the try catch block. Error, I'll say error fetching inventory, perfect. And now I can do a few things with the button state. So when I fetch data, when I press fetch data, I want to show the user that, hey, I'm fetching your data. Give me one moment. I'm fetching your data. Just give me a sec. So I want to show button state.value equals loading, or excuse me, not equals, but is assigned to loading. So step one, when the button state gets clicked, and we can show the button state on the screen. This is also really, really powerful about Vue, is I can pop in the button state. We can see what's going on right here. I don't need to conditionally render stuff. It already puts it in a string value for us. Again, little different at times with other JavaScript frameworks. So this is really powerful with Vue. So I can click this and we can see it goes to loading, boom.